We're going to look at the following example of paired differences. Now, most of the time, you're going to have the data for the first item and the data for the second item, but the difference column will not be made for you. This time, it's already been done. We have the difference by subtracting what was in the first column minus the second column. And we always want to subtract in order. So if I start with car one's data, I have to start with car one's data in all of the subtraction, which you notice that leads us to a negative value on this Honda CRZ. That's okay. That's perfectly legitimate in this process. All right, so we're going to work with this column right here as we do our confidence interval. We want a 95% confidence interval for the difference in average fuel economy between cars operated on this type 1 gasoline and cars operated on the type 2 gasoline. So when we do a paired difference problem, once we've come up with this column that is the difference, we are going to do our calculations of mean and standard deviation on this column, kind of like we did when we just had a one sample group of data. All right, so what I'm going to do is I want to show you that we can very easily find the standard deviation in the mean by copying and pasting this into Microsoft Excel. So I've got Microsoft Excel open. Let me move my window so you can see the right side. And I'm just going to copy and paste the data that I just had. Oh, shoot, I accidentally hit copy. Let me go back. Copy this. And hit paste over here. And it has pasted all this data. All right, now, what we want to do now is go ahead and get the mean and the standard deviation. So in Microsoft Excel, if you type, oops, I don't know why it did that. I'm going to go right here in an empty cell and I'm going to type equal average. Oops, except I can't spell. Equal average. And then parentheses. Now, notice my very first number is in column A, position 2. So I'm going to do A2 colon, and then the last one is in position 10, A10. And that's telling it to average everything that is between the second cell and the 10th cell. And there's my average. All right, now let's get our standard deviation in the same way. All I've got to do is say equal standard dev, and you notice these little options come up. We want the one with S because this is a sample. So we'll use standdev.s, parenthesis, again, A2 colon A10. And hit enter, and there's our standard deviation. So we've got the first two things we need. The mean is 0.175. That's our D bar. D bar instead of X bar, since we're talking about the difference here. And then our S sub D, our standard deviation for the difference, is 0.148805. So I'm going to take all of that information over to the calculations we're now going to do. Okay, so now if we go back to our Word document, D bar is 0.175. The standard deviation of the difference is 0.148805. Alpha is 0.05, but remember, we need to do alpha divided by 2 for our confidence interval, which is going to give us 0.025. All right, now, this is a small sample. We have 9 in our sample. So that means our degrees of freedom are 9 minus 1. So there are 8 degrees of freedom. We want to look up 0.025, 8 degrees of freedom on the T table. All right, so again, I'm going to use my stat trek. And let's just type in 8 degrees of freedom, 0.025, and calculate. That t-scored is 2.306. All right, so T is 2.306. And we are now ready to do our confidence interval. All right, so we're going to start with D bar plus and minus. Oops. Now we want our T of alpha over 2, which is 2.306, times our standard deviation, which was 0.148805, divided by the square root of the sample size, and our sample size was 9. Now, since I know the square root of 9, I'm just going to put 3. All right, so now let's just do our calculations. 1.175 minus this first. I'm going to go ahead and stick that into my calculator. So this gives me 0.175 minus 0.060618557. And then let's finish that. Now I get 0.114371443, but since our original calculations up here in the difference were to the tenths place, I'm going to round to the tenths place, so that's 0.1 when I round that to the tenths place. And now let's do our plus side of things, 0.175 plus this. And of course, that's 0.175 plus 0.060628557. And that is going to round to 0.2. All right, so let's go ahead and write out our statement for our confidence interval. We are 95% confident the true difference in the average fuel economy for the two types of gasoline is between 0.1 and 0.2 miles per gallon. Which is not really much difference, but there is some difference.